information about. I'm in the process of shopping around for publishers for my book, Life of the Party, and hopefully I'll have more to discuss about that in the future. I do apologize. The piece I have today, it's a piece of flash fiction that I wanted to share during the Christmas show, or the holiday show, I should say. So it is holiday themed. So if you'll indulge me in the end of January, a little bit of Christmas. It is a satirical piece called 1,000 Words that happens to also be 1,000 words long. The family had gathered at a perfectly mediocre eating establishment to pretend to enjoy a subpar meal along with each other's company. Through a light-laden bay window pulsated with rainbow bulbs, we could see the remnants of last week's heavy snowfall, the compilation of thousands upon thousands of unique ice lattices had long been plowed along the side of the road to be stained a sickly, oily pitch as tires passing from motorists turned powdery dunes into piles of sludge. But the food and view were not the reason for this assemblage. It was the Christmas tree the restaurant had placed adjacent to its hosting podium. The decorative pine was the only extraordinary element of the otherwise average eatery, illuminated with striking strings of glowing white, covered in metallic stars and orbs of red and silver, and topped with an ornate crystal angel that the staff claimed was hand-sculpted by a local artist. The figurine rested in front of a powerful halogen lamp that caused ethereal-like beams to radiate through the divine statue and projected glorious phosphorescent rays in all directions. My grandparents had long ago decided that this display would provide the backdrop for the family Christmas card and newsletter. So after swallowing down dishes of reheated pasta and overcooked morsels of meat, we crowded around the magnificent decor, decked out in our finest church clothes, and imposed upon the owners to take a photograph of the staged familial bliss. Chiseled smiles and gleaming eyes, reproduced through memories of what happiness was supposed to look like, took hold as we were asked to say cheese by the proprietors. All Mima was concerned with was projecting a temporary illusion of success and respectability. She had been feuding with Great Aunt Esther for some time, and who had produced the better crop of offspring had become the focal point of their rivalry. She just needed to have one seemingly perfect image to craft a fictitious narrative around. After the camera had captured this carefully constructed facsimile of love and contentment, we could all pull out butcher knives and hack each other to pieces for all she cared. Considering the amount of scotch Grandpa had consumed for dinner, I was truly impressed at how straight he was able to stand for the portrait, although a lifetime of binge drinking was bound to yield a significant tolerance. Anytime the word alcoholic was brought up, he'd just jest, "I'm more of a problem drinker, being as I drink to solve my problems." Everyone would offer up some forced laughter and the subject would quickly be changed. No mention of his inability to finish out a day without booze would make it into the newsletter. My sister, who was christened Sarah, but had legally changed her name to Raven, was wearing a long-sleeved red dress that stretched beneath the knees with matching stockings and boots. Her outfit choice was less about comfort, warmth, or the holiday season, and more about concealing the wide range of suggestive tattoos, and more importantly, the self-inflicted cuts up her arms and legs. If any were to begin bleeding, I'm sure the Crimson Ensemble would mask it for the purposes of the picture. Her psychiatrist had prescribed lithium, and the therapist had recommended her marking herself with a Sharpie when she felt the urge to slice flesh, but both treatments had mixed results. No mention of her battle with bipolar disorder would be featured in the newsletter. My mother was the best at faking tranquility. She'd spent a lifetime assuring all those around her that everything was fine, even as her entire world unraveled at the seams. No one would guess from her sunny, pleasant disposition, bright rain gear sweater, and lively bouffant hairdo that my father had recently left her for his secretary, a woman half her age, or that she collapsed in paralyzing panic attacks when the build-up stresses became too much to bear. There would be no mention of infidelity, divorce, or emotional instability in the newsletter. I, in a charcoal gray suit and festive tie, uncomfortably shifted about as the pain pills began to wear off. I had been working full-time as a salesman in a men's clothing store before I lost control of my car while speeding over a patch of black ice and barreled into a light post. This resulted in a fractured vertebra and some time off on short-term disability. I now sported a black brace under my apparel I could scarcely afford, even with the employee discounts, and got through the day by doubling up on my prescribed muscle relaxers. If I ran out, Sarah, Raven, could easily hook me up with some more. This actually would make it into the Christmas letter. While mental ailments were to be ignored because they were perceived as a sign of personal weakness, physical disabilities were coveted, since they often could be attributed to God's mysterious plan. They were not subject to stigmatization and provided the opportunity to ask the readers for thoughts and prayers. A flash went off, followed by another, and then an audible sigh of relief as the masquerade had concluded. We all meandered back to the table and slumped into our chairs. There was talk of coffee and dessert, followed by some pointless yet heated arguments about personal politics and lifestyle choices. Having accomplished the primary task of the evening, there was no need to put on the pretense of liking each other. I swallowed a handful of chalky tablets and chased them down with a glass of House Merlot. Perhaps it was the influence of the medicine, but I, for one, was looking forward to the annual family letter, for it was the one time a year I got to read about how exceptional and fulfilled we all were. And even though it was all a lie, driven by ego, vanity, and spite, at least it was a cheerful one. Thank you.